This week, we're setting the popcorn time machine back to July 18th, 1986, and traveling to an unresponsive terraforming colony. After barely surviving the Nostromo incident, we once again are face to face with facehuggers, aliens, and even the Queen. Game over, man! Well, not quite, so stop your grinning, drop your linen, and stay frosty. And welcome back to another episode of Popcorn Time Machine, where we rewatch, rewind, and react to all your favorite 80s and 90s classic movies. If you aren't already, be sure to follow us on our Instagram page, Popcorn Time Machine Pod, and on YouTube, Popcorn Time Machine Podcast. And today, we got a bigger crowd than the last couple of weeks. Welcome back, Kevin, on a trip across the world and the country and all over the place.
A little bit of driving here and there.
So let's go around the table real quick because I got one pressing question. We've seen them paired up in movies since this, and I just got to know, everybody, we'll start with Kevin first. Are you an alien or a predator kind of guy?
Alien.
Alien. All right. Well, Jimmy's back with us. So, Jimmy, I think I know your answer, but alien or predator?
That's always a really tough one because it's always like in the moment, you know, every time I watch a Predator film, I'm like, oh, I love them. They're so cool. And then I watch like, you know, any of the alien movies and I'm like, oh, it's the perfect organism. Just for the Queen alone, I'm going to have to say the alien, the xenomorph.
Ooh. All right. Diaz, you're joining us again this week. Alien or predator?
Listen, I love this movie, but I gotta give it to the predators, bro. They hunt, they're hunters. They adapt to whatever their situation is. Plus, their predators are more, they come to you. The aliens are more, you ain't gotta worry about the aliens unless they're in space. Predators will find you. So I say predators.
I like that. And I also am predator. I am. I like their hunting system. I like their camouflage. I like all of that. And the fact that they took on Arnold Schwarzenegger is a huge bonus. I like
Get
that.
to the chopper!
Hit the chopper. So this week we're talking Aliens, not to be confused with Alien. This is the sequel to the 1979 classic. This came out July 18th, 1986 on a $18.5 million budget. And this thing racked up. It's the numbers vary. So the numbers I found was 131.1 to 183.3 million dollars. So very, very successful. And the reason we're doing this is because the upcoming Alien Romulus, which I think is the 7th installment in this franchise, and it's going to actually, it's interesting. I'm a little more intrigued by it now, knowing that this is a standalone, this is a new term I've heard, interquel. So it's set in between Alien and Aliens. So it's like a sequel to Alien.
And what was the term?
Interquel. So like
I like
in
it.
between cool, I guess. I don't know. They're just making shit up nowadays with these new terms, I guess.
You just made that up right now?
But yeah, so this is a prequel to Aliens, a sequel to Alien. I don't think it has to do with any of the characters, but it takes place between those two events.
Well, if it's an interquel, Ripley's floating out in space. Still.
Right, I was going to say. So
she's in hypersleep.
So she, doesn't have to be in it. So I guess,
I get it.
How they can say that.
One of the things I was interested in when I was rewatching it, that makes sense that this interquel is between them because of some stuff I'm gonna mention later on. It makes sense now that they're doing that one. That's kind of type of story.
And there is such a gap, right? It was what, 57 years in between. So like they're out there somewhere, and who knows how many people know about it at the time. Because I mean, I think Ripley would probably be the only known surviving encounter with the aliens. So directed by James Cameron, and I have some information on Mr. Cameron. So we'll go down. Obviously, he's known for The Terminator, Avatar, Titanic. Does anybody want to guess what his worldwide box office is for his movies?
8 billion.
8 billion? Diaz?
I want to say 6.
Kevin?
Oh, I guess I'll go 10.
Jimmy nailed it. $8 billion.
Yeah.
He has 3 out of the 4 of the top highest grossing films of all time are his.
Nuts.
Number one
Wow.
is Avatar, 2.92 billion. Number 2 is Avengers Endgame at 2.79 billion. 3 is Avatar: The Way of Water, 2.32 billion, and Titanic is number 4 at 2.27 billion. So
I feel like
not
there should
only-
be I feel like there should be an asterisk next to Avatar, because do you remember what he did? The petty move that he did.
He's such a little
And-
bastard.
Yeah, because Endgame was going to beat the record, so he put Avatar back in theaters. Oh, that's
It did. Endgame was number 1, and then they re-released Avatar for the 3rd time in preparation for Avatar. And I think they released it for an anniversary as well. They re-released Avatar and Titanic for that matter. They re-released both of those movies. And that's why we'll get into Cameron, but I just am not really. I'm not a huge James Cameron. I'm going to put my cards on the table. I'm not a Cameron fan. His movies are fine, but I don't know him as a person. I don't like.
You don't like the guy. You don't like the guy.
Yeah, just don't like him.
I feel like re-releases shouldn't count towards towards that movie's box office. If it's, it's already been released, it's already been on video for how many, or whatever, Blu-ray for how many years.
Yeah.
I don't think that should count. That's such a James Cameron thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Disney and Marvel can do the same thing. They can drop Endgame for the full year and people will still go see it. That theater will never be empty.
So not only is he a box office juggernaut, but he has 22 Academy Awards.
Oof.
He got 11 for Titanic, 4 for T2, which is surprising that that's his second most. Avatar for 3. Aliens has 2. Avatar 2 has 1, and then The Abyss has 1. Never saw The Abyss, but
I don't remember if I've seen that or not either.
Yeah, that one stuck out to me because I was like, I don't remember. I don't think I've seen that one.
That's based
Cameron's
on a book,
not somebody
right?
I seek out.
That's based on a book, right? I think I never was interested in the book, so I don't think I was interested in the movie. But
I'll just point another point. If that is based off of a book, another point that just drives me insane about James Cameron is like Aliens was not his idea. Avatar, pretty much not his idea. Like you can say he wrote that all he wants, but like it's Pocahontas. It's a million other stories that he ripped off. Titanic really happened. Not like exactly how I said, but he just took a story. Like he just takes other stuff and like just manipulates it, and then people just go out in droves for. I mean, he knows how to shoot the hell out of a movie, but like I just don't see his.
What about Terminator?
Yeah, I'll give him Terminator.
That might be it though. Like,
yeah,
I didn't realize how many stories he might have like just thrown himself on. But you're right. He might have just used the success of Terminator and been like, I ain't got to do nothing ever again.
Yeah, nope. The one thing I do appreciate of Cameron, much like with Aliens, he does always have a very strong female lead. He's very good about doing that. Rose in Titanic was pretty much her own. Avatar is kind of a dual blend between female and male. Aliens, obviously, they kind of set him up already with Ripley being a badass, but he's continued that throughout his career. But
I believe when Dan O'Bannon and I think Ronald Shewett, I believe his name, the two co-writers of Alien, I think they wrote the character for Ripley as a male or female could, play that role. So I mean, it's kind of like interchangeable, which is great. And I mean, Sigourney Weaver's fantastic in it, obviously. But yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah. So Cameron, I mean, he does have a funny little intro to this world. Is that he saw Star Wars, New Hope, and that's when he quit his job as a truck driver to kind of enter the film industry. And supposedly he wrote Avatar, either in his head or on paper during his truck driving career. I do have a couple funny stories. He supposedly did not get along with this crew at all. This is a British crew that he filmed with, and there was 4 little stories, and then we'll get into actually Aliens, but I laughed at each one of these. So the crew, they would often take like several breaks, and a lady would come through with a little trolley with like tea and cheese rolls.
Tea time forever.
And one day Cameron was really pissed, and he just flipped the whole trolley over in front of the entire crew just to prove a point. The crew would stop work on Friday afternoons for like a little lottery drawing. They would do a prize for like 400 euros. And then one of the crew kind of came up to him and were like, Jim, you want to in on the lottery? And he just replied with "fuck the draw." Just he's such a dick. He tried to convince them because they all believed at that point he wasn't really worthy and he didn't know what he was doing really. So they didn't really.
Yeah, they were loyal to Ridley, right? They were loyal.
Yeah,
to Scott.
and he wasn't there. You know, he was kind of coming off of Terminator, but other than that, he was still a rookie. So he attempted to show a screening of the Terminator to the cast and crew to be like, look, I know what I'm doing. And only the cast showed up. The crew didn't show up. So they just didn't give a shit about that. And then my favorite was that on the final day of shooting, Cameron stood up in front of the entire crew and everybody thought it was going to be this like emotional farewell speech. And this is a quote from what I have is, "This has been a long and difficult shoot fraught by many problems. But the one thing that kept me going through it all was the certain knowledge that one day I would drive out of the gate of Pinewood and never come back, and that you sorry bastards would all still be here." Mic drop, Cameron out. Such a tool, but I for that part I respect it. He's also the writer of this movie. And then this was produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who also produced The Terminator, Armageddon, Alien, Dante's Peak. She did both Hulk movies, 2003 and 2008, both Punishers, and then a handful of Walking Dead spin-offs and episodes. So she's
right. Like, well,
she's
her
been
and
around
Cameron
the
were
block.
like a team,
Yeah, they were
like, a
married.
bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Well, they were married
during
yeah.
this point, right?
Yeah,
he
I
married
believe
five. He's been married 5 times, and 3 of them
And
have
what-
been actresses, and one's a producer. So
Yeah, and then obviously Linda Hamilton, I believe he was married to, or they dated for a long time, but they were together for a long time too from Terminator.
well, that's kind of the backstage people. But Jimmy, why don't you kick us off? You're our Mr. IMDb. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about this cast and crew, because this is pretty much an ensemble-y kind of movie. There's a lot of moving pieces in here. So why don't you give us a rundown?
Okay, so we have I'll start with Corporal Hicks. Corporal Hicks is actually like kind of interesting. So another actor that's been in the Cameron verse, I guess, was Stephen Lang. You know, the guy from Don't Breathe, the guy who played like the commander or whatever in Avatar.
Avatar, yeah.
He auditioned for the role of Hicks, but his buddy James Remar secured the role on his recommendation of Hill, where they were close friends. James Remar left shortly into filming due to family matters, apparently, and creative differences with Cameron, but he later admitted he got fired for being arrested for drug possession. So Gail Hurd hired Michael Biehn, who is also a frequent collaborator with James Cameron. He was the main character in Terminator with Linda Hamilton. He was in, I believe he's also been in The Abyss. He recently just kind of had a mini resurgence a couple years ago in the season 2 of Mandalorian. So he ended up taking the role of Corporal Hicks, which is one of my favorite characters in the Alien franchise. You obviously have another Cameron frequent with Bill Paxton, and he, it was just an off chance it was just by chance he bumped into Cameron at the airport in LA, and they hit it off, and Cameron really liked him due to like Weird Science. So obviously he secured the role for Private Hudson. Al Matthews, who plays, Gunner. Well, his rank on his sleeve is Gunnery Sergeant, but he is Master Sergeant Al Apone. He was actually kind of a consultant. He helped them. He was in the Vietnam War. He's a Vietnam vet.
Yeah, he was a real soldier, right?
He was a Marine. He actually helped them with firearms training and everything like that. So they ended up bringing him in as Sergeant Apone. The most controversial casting, and this did not go over well, is Private Vasquez, aka also known as Jeanette Goldstein, who they applied an hour of makeup to to hide her freckles and white skin, gave her dark brown contact lenses. And yeah, she's been in the 80s. She's she's one of the detectives in the Lethal Weapon franchise. She's actually one of them that gets killed in Lethal Weapon 2, where the South Africans start putting like hits on all the LA department. And then there's like smaller actors like Rico Ross, Private Frost. He's had very small roles. I think one of his like bigger movies that he was in was the very first Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. Sorry, Tom Cruise. But he's kind of been just a character actor. You'll see him
like a filler.
Yeah. I love Frost too. And then Carrie Henn, who plays New, didn't have a lot of acting experience, but James Cameron kind of hired her because she had like a very innocent face and like expressive eyes, and she crushed that role.
She didn't do much after, right? Like her career was not like
anything. No. And then you have the legendary Lance Henriksen, who's been in a plethora of science fiction and horror movies. And he was actually a little nervous to play Bishop because of how great Ian Holm did. Most, for our fans out there, Ian Holm's probably best known as Bilbo Baggins from the Lord of the Rings franchise, but Ian Holm played Ash from the very first Alien. And then also 5 years before that, or 6 years before, it was Blade Runner, and Rutger Hauer did an amazing job as Roy Batty. So he was a little nervous to play a synthetic person or a cybernetic person because of how great those guys' performances
Artificial person.
And one thing I saw about Lance Henriksen is that he said if this role didn't work out for him, he was going to quit the business because he's been
he said it was done, right? He said it was done.
And then funny enough too, because he went on to play a character in AVP, Alien versus Predator, Charles Bishop Wayland.
Yep. And obviously the terraforming company is Wayland Yutani, building better worlds. And and then obviously you have a very young Paul Reiser, who this is his breakout role. He had smaller roles in like Beverly Hills Cop and stuff, but this was his like breakout role. And then obviously he had a pretty successful career going into the 90s with Mad About You with Helen Hunt, who we just did Twister with. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty big cast, not a whole lot of big names. Obviously you have Sigourney Weaver and, but for the most part, the Colonial Marines themselves aren't the biggest named actors, with the exception of like Bill Paxton and stuff. But
in Mad About You, there was an episode where they're talking about the Aliens franchise, and when they're talking about like the Aliens movie, Paul says, "I never saw it."
Well, we also have the legendary. Oh, sorry.
I'll say with Sigourney Weaver, real quick. I think she got paid like $350,000 or $35,000, one of the two for Alien. And then with that being so successful and with Ghostbusters being so successful, when it came time for contracts for Aliens, her asking price was $1 million. And the studio was like, no chance. And Cameron helped her out by like publicly stating that if she's not doing it, he's not going to do it. And also stating that she was the only one in contention for this part. So like she had super leverage with the studio, and they finally caved and gave her the $1 million.
Oh yeah. And even behind the scenes, there's a lot of, obviously you have James Cameron, but you have the legendary composer, James Horner, who, did the likes of Braveheart. Hold on. I have more of his. There was a whole list I tried remembering. Come on.
I know the name. I just can't remember those composers. Like you remember their names, but I can never remember what pieces they contributed towards.
Thank God we edit this. So obviously, Beautiful Mind, Braveheart, Field of Dreams, Avatar, Jumanji, Deep Impact, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I mean, the guy just goes on and on. The Legend of Zorro, the Karate Kid for the remake.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
Damn.
So, and then of course I can't forget the most legendary. I think the most legendary out of all of them is Stan Winston. He designed the Queen Xenomorph, obviously, or the alien. Obviously, the aliens themselves were already established with Swiss surrealist H.R. Geiger when Dan O'Bannon and recommended to Ridley Scott that, hey, you should check out this artist from, he's got this like gallery called like the Necronom 4, and it had all these bizarre, weird, sexual, biomechanic paintings, and that's kind of how they had the idea for the Xenomorph. But Stan Winston, I mean, God, Jurassic Park, Aliens, the Terminator films. He actually came up with the Predator, but he had a hard time coming up with the design for Predator, and he called James Cameron. And James Cameron said, "Hey, if you're going to make an alien, make sure it has mandibles." And that's how the legendary Predator came to be, because he had a hard time coming up with an actual like iconic creature. And there's a lot. This was like
Speaking of the alien design, wasn't it like a rumor that for the sequel they wanted it to be like transparent, like clear?
So
they wanted it to be like see-through or something.
So in the very first film, a lot of people like it. I don't. I love this this Xenomorph. So the very first one, it's pretty clear, and there is a face. The Xenomorph has 2 eye sockets. It's a skull, like a human skull, and it's 2 empty eye sockets. And James Cameron was going to use that same design, but because this was more of an action film and the aliens were going to be doing a lot more, like they hired gymnasts, stunt doubles, I believe even dancers to be in the costumes, and they were taking, like when they were shooting it, they were taking heavy damage. So James Cameron stripped the clear part of the carapace or whatever of the head, and they redesigned it to kind of give it more of a exoskeleton look, which I like a lot better. I don't like the human. I don't know. People like it. People love it. I don't like it. The fact that they have 0 eyes or 0, I think it gives too much of a human element. That's just me. I like it more of like an animal.
Like,
yeah. I like that they're kind of intergalactic insects.
So before we fully dive into this movie a little bit more, let's just do our initial thoughts real quick of the movie after rewatching it for, I don't know if it's been a while for you or, how long it's been, but let's just go around the horn real quick, give our initial thoughts, and then we'll dive in a little bit more. So Kevin, what are your initial thoughts after rewatching this?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it for a long time. Like we say with a lot of movies that we go back to in the 80s, at first it's kind of like, especially like the Marine characters, like not the top-notch acting. Some of the writing, it's like, like they try too hard for some one-liners that like fall flat. But once you get hit with that up front, then you start getting into the story. And again, sometimes your memory of movies is better than the movies, and maybe it's just because at the beginning of the movie, like, character progression, but then everything kicks in. Then once the action kicks in, and you're past that, right? Because now you're all in. So a little bit of up front, ooh, the acting wasn't that good, was it? And get past that, and then then it's all good. The action, the thing's kind of nonstop action, kind of. Well, even the lulls of not action are tense. So I say it totally like lived up to the memory enough.
Jimmy, what did you think? I know this is one of your favorites.
I love this movie, and the difference between I think Alien and Aliens is I find this movie way more stressful, especially when they're on the Nostromo in the first one. It is just the one alien, but a couple of cargo members are able, like especially Ripley, you know, who have no experience with dealing like with an extraterrestrial organism. They do pretty okay. I mean, they do get wiped out one by one, but they're, I feel like the xenomorph in that one kind of, if you go looking for him, then he'll, but he kind of hides a lot. This one stresses me out a lot more because you have these experienced Marines, and it seems like in James Cameron's movie, there are established like intergalactic species. They have, even Hudson even says this is another bug hunt. So clearly they've fought against other,
things.
Yeah. But I think what stresses me out is that they dispose of a lot of them, but they just keep coming and they just don't stop coming. And then Hudson, I think, reflects the audience. Like he's just as panicked and stressed as all of us. So I think this movie is awesome. I mean, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. Diaz, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Dude, I loved it. I love it. It sucked for me because I saw this one first. So the other ones were a letdown. I was like, I didn't know Aliens was a sequel. I was always that type of person that you got to see part 1 before part 2. The title threw me off. It was just called Alien. They didn't say Alien 2 or anything like that. So when I saw that it was aliens, I'm it's a movie about aliens. Let me check it out. Watching it, I was like, yo, this shit is crazy. There's because I was all into, like I told you, I was into G.I. Joes. I was into a lot of army stuff when I was a little kid. So I saw this when I was younger, and I was like, yo, these soldiers are getting their asses kicked. I was like, yo, in my head, I was like, yo, would this happen to the G.I. Joes? I was thinking all types of crazy. My imagination was going crazy. But this movie was so great for me, it ruined the other alien movies for me. Because I was just like, why is there only one in the other ones? Other than the army of these fuckers, like.
Yeah, right. Like I just saw a whole hive of them. Now I got
exactly
one alien.
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I enjoy this movie. I think that this would have been a perfect hour and 45-minute movie. I think there are some, if you want to go full sprinting, which they do in a lot of the scenes, I think they could have trimmed a little bit here and there. I've watched the one that's on Disney Plus. I don't know which version that is because I know that they've re-released various amounts of cuts on this. But for the practical effects, for that sense of terror, I do really enjoy this movie. But there are some low points for me, some lulls, and the one thing that stuck out to me is I get what Jimmy was saying, where Alien is just one, and there's a difference between that and like this like hive sense. But for me, I felt like they were disposed of too easily. The alien seemed pretty weak. Like it was more just a numbers game versus like a strength game. So that kind of hurt it for me a little bit because then like I didn't view them as menacing as what they probably should be because like you get popped a couple times and they're bleeding and dead. So it seemed like you could kind of take care of them pretty easily. Yeah, there's a numbers game, but
in the first one too, like you don't know what their behavior is, so you're learning like like the face huggers and stuff. You're like, what the hell's he going on? What is he? Mm-hmm. So by the second one, you know how they operate. So I think that's the difference. I mean, the first one had that going for it. You like learning what these are and how they breed or whatever.
They didn't really have any weapons in the first one, too. Nick, we don't know if they would have disposed of them quickly if they had ammunition and rifles in the first one. So
yeah, all they had in the first one was like a couple of like flamethrowers.
Yeah, like they had no weapons. So
yeah, which I kind of liked because it was more like real, like not real, but like some real survival style thoughts. Like you look around the room, and you're like, what can I kill an alien with here right now? I'm unprepared. If an alien came down right now, what am I going to do? Like hit him with my microphone? Like no. But
it's very isolating too because they're on a ship in the middle of
so your
space.
Limited resources. There's
nowhere to really go.
Yeah. So I like that. But Kevin, any fun little facts or factoids that you found out about this movie before we get into the reviews and get into our favorite scenes?
Well, one of them was the Bishop. What's the actor's name again?
Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, when they were doing the scene where he like is like puking up the white fluids and stuff. That was a mixture of milk and yogurt. And they would have it like set out in cups. And he's like, and it had gone bad. and he said he ended up with food poisoning. So during for whatever period of time, around whatever scenes they were shooting around that time, he's like, I'd be at home throwing up all night, not sleeping, had to come in and shoot the next day. And he's like, and eventually they learned, oh, maybe we should refrigerate the milk and the yogurt.
I do love the irony in that scene too, especially when he gets impaled. It's Queen takes Bishop. Yep.
Stop it.
Queen takes Bishop. Yep.
The other small thing that's of interest was I saw an interview with the Carrie who played Newt, and where they found her is her father was in the military. So when they were in London where they shot this, or in the UK, she was going to school in England because her father was stationed in England, and they went to the schools and just photographed thousands of young girls from different schools.
Creepy.
And she's like, they just took a picture of me one day at lunch, and that's how she got selected. And then this was her one movie. She did it and one and done.
Jeez. Creepy. All right. Let's get to the reviews. We got to judge this on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's what I like to look at. The critics gave this a 96%, and the audience gave it a 94%. So pretty nose and nose right there. One good review that I thought was pretty good. It's from Paul Burns. Aliens has the energy to burn, and with Sigourney Weaver's tight-lipped, nervous, true grit, Aliens is a superior shocker. And then one that was not so good. Richard Friedman. He went on to say, at bottom, Aliens is about nothing at all beyond squeezing yet another buck from what 7 years ago was an original, arresting, and profitable horror movie. So Richard, I think, was kind of on the outside looking in on this movie because everybody else seemed to agree that this was a very, very good movie. So let's get into our Stop It segment. So this is how we're going to kind of walk through the movies. We're going to mention all of our favorite scenes, and we'll kind of run through it that way. It doesn't have to be in order. We're not going to go beat by beat through this movie because, well, you've seen the movie. We've seen the movie. No need to rehash it. But I like to at least talk about some of my favorite scenes. So I guess one of my first favorite scenes that it does sort of happen chronologically is that initial part when Ripley is telling the story to the board, and they're just not buying in at all that an alien destroyed the ship, and they only care about money. It's very corporation style view of things where they're like, wow, we have a lot of money tied up into this. So how did this happen? Tell us again. She's like, I told you. And then that's when you get the line of, did IQs just drop while I was away? It's not an indigenous species. Like they're like, well, we've been there. There's nothing there. There's no indigenous species. Like, yeah, I know. It's not from there. It came from somewhere else.
We found
it was on a ship.
Are there any species like this hostile organism on LV-426?
No, it's a rock. No indigenous life.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away? Ma'am, I already said that it was not indigenous. It was a derelict spacecraft. It was an alien ship. It was not from there.
Yeah, it kind of set the tone for that one. So that's one of my scenes. So whoever wants to take it off, let's hear your other scenes that we love.
I like the scene right before that, the opening scene. When I was under the impression, like I said, I saw this as an original. So I was like, what the hell is that coming out of her chest? Like the movie just started and there was an alien popping out of her chest. Rewatching it, seeing it a second time. I didn't know. I wouldn't have known if Ripley was going to survive the whole second movie. Like she's the star of the first movie. So the second movie started. That opening scene when the alien's popping out of her chest, when she starts coughing and you realize that she could have been infected the whole time. If they were to actually start the movie like that, I was already like, oh shit, she
gets $1 million for like one scene.
Yeah,
right,
like
yeah. She got
I
the
was
Robert
just
Downey
like,
Jr. cast.
holy, like this was the star of the first one. She survived an alien like it was nothing, or so she thought she survived. And you take her out in the first 5 minutes. I thought that was a great way to get the crowd invested. Like, oh shit.
My favorite scene is definitely when, oh man, it's so perfect because they're down in sublevel 3 and they blend into the walls because it's all like mechanical and shit and they're biomechanical. And Hudson's motion detector starts going off and it makes that eerie like heartbeat sound. And he's just like, I got signals, I got readings in front and behind. And Frost is like, where, man? I don't see shit. And then Hicks is like, he's right. There's nothing back here. Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving it. It ain't us. And then all of a sudden the chick, Corporal Dietrich's like, that maybe they don't show up in infrared at all. And then just fucking one snags her. And then there's just a domino effect. She presses the trigger on her flamethrower, sets Frost on fire. Everything fucking blows up.
Yep.
Then they all come out.
I got signals. I got readings in front and behind.
Where, man? I don't see shit.
He's right. There's nothing back here. Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us.
Tracker's off scale, man. They're all around us, man. Jesus.
Maybe they don't show up on infrared at all.
Oh my god, that is unbelievable.
I love like you said when the alien grabbed her. When it was remember the first one we've seen it every time the alien attacked, it was over for you. That one just snatched her up. You didn't see it like you just
Well, it's creepy too. They shift in the walls too. They start waking up.
Almost like they were hibernating there.
Yeah.
Well, they found the terraformers all cocooned, and the one chest burster that broke out screamed when they set it on fire, and it woke. You see them start to shift and wake up, and then that's when like you see the little dots on Hudson's motion detector start like. Then it's
everywhere.
like, yep, and it's like that heartbeat sound. Oh, it's so good. That's my favorite scene.
Yeah, I think one of the better scenes is the when Ripley and Newt are in the medical center there and they're like sleeping, and it turns out that Burke had let 2 of the face huggers out, and they're like fighting them in the room, and they're trying to get out, and then she's trying to get their attention from the camera, and Burke like turns the monitor off, and then she sets off the sprinkler system. That's good. And then it's a smaller scene, but then later on when Newt falls in the water underneath the grate when they're trying to cut it, and she's in the water, like what? Like what's creepier than aliens on a spaceship? Aliens sneaking up on you underwater on a spaceship, right?
Yeah.
Hicks,
I know.
hurry!
I know.
I mean it! Newt, just stay still.
We're almost there.
No! Newt!
Ooh,
That
I have one
shot
more
too,
scene.
where the alien comes out behind her, is just phenomenal.
Great cinematography there. Great cinematography.
I do love the one scene too, where it's a really subtle, cool scene between the Queen and Ripley, where she's rescuing Newt, and then the two warrior xenomorphs come right behind the Queen, and the Queen waves them off. And then the egg opens up and Ripley just tilts her head and just fucking lights all the eggs on fire. Oh god, it's so good.
She like lights them on fire, and then she's firing at the Queen and like just blowing up her like, I don't even know the term for it, but her like egg layer, her snuffleupagus nose, whatever that is.
Oh.
But yeah, I like that part because you got what looks like to be that milk yogurt concentrate flying out from all the the pieces of the Queen that she's letting that thing go. She's unloading the whole clip. She gets out of ammo. She starts using the flamethrower. Then she like
grenades,
pop a grenade in there. Like she hits them with everything. Like just mashes all the buttons.
Well, she became a military weapons expert by the end. She's in there loading everything up, taping it all together. She's getting hand grenades. She's like, yeah, the guy was showing me what this stuff was like 2 hours ago, but now I've got it all down.
It's a great scene too, because the queen isn't, beyond, like, it has some sort of high IQ enough to understand that, like, okay, wave him off.
Yeah, like she looked,
grab,
you go.
And then the egg just starts hatching, and then she just tilts her head and just.
It's funny how Ripley picked up on all this stuff so quick, even though she's been asleep for 57 years. So clearly, like, technology hasn't advanced too much.
It kind of hasn't, since the Marines are wearing Vietnam era military helmets.
Speaking of the Marines,
so like space age technology, and they've got 1980 12 gauge shotguns and helmets.
Hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
and the Marine rocking the Army E7 stripes. But
I like how they the slow burn on Burke. At first, I thought Burke wasn't that bad of an asshole. I didn't think it was gonna be that bad, because they're like, oh, we don't know what this thing is. There's no such life form like that. But like Jimmy said earlier, when the soldiers were like, oh, on another bug hunt, that made me think, okay, they might be full of shit here. These soldiers have been looking. They knew they had a name for it. They're like, it might be a xenomorph involved. If Ripley was the one talking about it before, the soldiers knew about it. Burke knew about that shit. So they knew, and they still send them.
The company did, because this all goes back to the first one. That's why they responded to the derelict ship.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a warning beacon. It was from that alien who he sent. The alien who's like fossilized in that ship in the first one sent out a warning beacon to not come to LV-426. Weyland-Yutani found that beacon and told, a mining ship, like blue collar workers, to go investigate. And that was the whole thing. Bring it home so we can study it and possibly weaponize it, because it is the perfect organism.
Yeah. I do like the securing the building scene too, because that's like that first sense of eeriness that we get. We know in the back of our heads, we know what's going to happen here. It's going to be, horror and nightmare. But the fact that they go into like secure it, there's no bodies, there's no blood, there's no nothing. Everyone's just gone.
No sound. Yeah, nothing. Sound is dripping.
Yep, the place is absolutely trashed. And like I'm like, yep, well, it's secure. Come on in. And they're like, and even Ripley's like, it's not secure. Like, clearly, it's very not secure. But I thought that was a really good practical effects from the set standpoint, like having these open pipes, the lighting, everything's kind of flickering and breaking. Like, it's clearly, and clearly something happened recently, because we find, one of them still alive with the chest burster when she's like, kill me. But I knew something, we were going to jump right into it, because they went by the desk and there was like the donut there, and it wasn't like moldy or decayed at all. It was like I'd still pick that donut up and eat it. It looked pretty good. But I thought that was a pretty good one. And,
that makes what Jimmy said even more intense. I just realized that now, Jimmy, thinking back to what you said, the scene when the aliens start coming out the walls. That's when we realized how many fucking aliens we're going to see in this movie. That's when you saw like 4, 5, 6. That's literally the scene where we know that this is not alien. This is aliens. We didn't know anything. We just knew there was a lot of them fuckers.
It's crazy, because I feel like we always we use the term like the outbreak and stuff for like those zombie apocalypse movies. This is what it became an outbreak with, Newt's parents. Newt's parents were the first victims, and then because they metamorphose so fast. So they seem to only kill you if you struggle against them, because their whole goal is to propagate their species and keep it going and keep it growing and stuff. So how many, there's probably 150 plus people on that.
That's what they said. The
on the colony?
Hadley's Hope. I think the sign said 150
like
or something.
58 or something like that.
I think they said there was 70 families there.
So
that was the number they said earlier.
Yeah, they grab them, cocoon them, and then just let the species keep growing. And it's just so fast. It's just so fast.
But my whole thing, Jimmy, like you said, like they were trying to get bigger. What the fuck do they eat? If they're saving all these people and making more aliens out of people, what the hell are they eating?
Oh God, there's So many theories. I don't think we can go down that rabbit hole.
No, but no, I'm saying like think of it now. Like on that planet, they're turning all these people are turning into they're hosting them to make more aliens.
Right,
We never know
turning
what the
into
hell
their hosts.
their
Right?
host-
They
yeah,
use them
their
as
hosts.
hosts, right?
to breed more. What the fuck are they?
What
eating?
is their food?
Yeah, like,
Maybe
what's
they are
their
the food. Maybe they consume them while they're the host.
True. That could be what it is.
There's
Maybe
a
they're
lot of.
strong enough. Like
They feed from the queen.
I've gone down this
That-
rabbit
yeah.
hole so many times. I mean, there's so many theories, and how does the xenomorph, does the xenomorph eat? Does it need to eat? Does it, and obviously in like Alien vs Predator Requiem, that's the first time you actually see a xenomorph feeding on somebody. But they're just kind of, yeah. And this one, I don't think anyone really thought about that. At least I didn't, but that's a good question. Yeah.
That's like a lot of movies, right? Though it's like, I feel like in a lot of action movies too, where it's an action-packed movie, they don't show characters like eating, like wasting time eating. So like, I don't know what they do eat, but they could eat anything that's on the planet. They could consume rocks for all that matter. But
no, like Kevin said though, they don't come out until they could come out everything they need. Remember, they grow real quick in the movies from little ones to big ones. They could become, when they come out the host, they could be already self-sufficient. They just slowly grow bigger. They could be.
They could hibernate too, some sort of hibernation kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, this one wasn't a scene that I really cared about, but this was another instance of Cameron taking something. So I had to point it out. Was the whole Vasquez scene where he's like, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she replies, "No, have you?" That was actually taken from a classic Hollywood story about Tallulah Bankhead. She was a 1930s actress, and a newspaper columnist asked her in an interview, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she replied, "No, darling, have you?" Another instance of James Cameron just, let's call it borrowing something.
Or is it paying homage?
Yeah, maybe.
Sure. One or the other, I guess. They're one and the same. Any other scenes that we want to talk about before we move along?
Oh.
What else?
Yeah.
What's your scenes?
Dude, another one. It's once again, they're not listening to Hudson when it's the final stand. and once again, the motion detector is going crazy, and then fucking Hicks goes up to the ceiling and just has his flashlight, and you see them all just climbing the pipes and then "Come on, get some, and then Hudson the fucking fingers pull on his face and they grab him down. Oh, dude, that's such a gnarly scene. And then Burt gets his because he fucking escapes, and there's one hiding in the closet and just fucking headlights him right in the face.
15 meters, 12 meters, 10 meters, 8 meters.
So this thing doesn't tell. Right, it doesn't tell us elevation then, apparently. I don't.
I'm reading right, man.
Yeah. I don't get how it picks them up, but not really. I just feel like it would have picked up. If it can pick up their distance away, I feel like it would pick up above or negatives or something like that. That's my problem with that meter tracker.
In that scene, in that final stand, for the most part, Hudson was the one that was freaking out, kind of like the audience. I think he was supposed to represent the audience. We're freaked out, we're scared, we're stressed, blah, blah, blah. But then when it came down to it, Hudson went out in the blaze of glory and just took as many out as he could. Even when he's getting dragged down there, you could still hear his pulse rifle, that's why I love Private Bill Hudson.
Yeah. I mean, that whole last little bit, right? That 30, 45 minutes or whatever, when they're trying to run out through the shafts, I guess they are. Yeah. And Vasquez stays back there with the grenade, and they blow up, and you're kind of picking people off. Newt falls down, gets lost, and then they finally kind of reconvene, and you have Sigourney Weaver, Bishop, Newt, and then you have that whole battle sequence at the end, essentially, where she straps up into one of those mechanical mover apparatuses, the forklift for humans, I guess. And
something that we still don't have today.
Right. Yeah.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Oh, can we rip on Cameron one more time?
Yep, because I think I have something in my mind that you are going to mention right now too.
Couldn't come up with his own original ending. Really, literally, shot for shot, did the same thing to end Alien. He does in Aliens. Like they shoot the queen out into space. The only difference is like she didn't incinerate it, but like did the same thing. They shot the alien right it back out into space. Like he couldn't come up with a different ending. Like,
well, I was going to bring up something else too.
Back to space.
Cameron pretty much just jacked himself because this little like unit that Sigourney Weaver's in, the mobility unit thing, it's pretty much the same exact unit that they use in Avatar that the humans use. Those like weaponized commando units where they like strap in, they get the guns and stuff like that. The same thing.
Well, that begs the question: is the Avatar universe in the same universe as Connected?
Is it connected? Could be. But yeah, the ending could have been better. That sequence could have been probably thought out a little bit more. I don't think Sigourney Weaver is opening the hatch to space and still being able to climb up a ladder. I don't think
that would rip her arm off.
She would have been toast. She would have been right there with the queen, and Newt would have flown right out too. But yeah, any other scenes that made you stop it? That made you stop the movie, pause, rewind?
Here we go.
The face huggers, right when they got there, like I said, I think they see that everything is all fucked up, and then like, all right, it's secure to go in. They find a room with all the huggers in like tubes. Right there. Like I said, they tried to make it seem like it wasn't going to be too crazy. These people were trying to save people. They were doing studies on these shits already.
Careful, Burke.
Yeah,
like
right. Yeah, they were already researching.
Yeah, like why didn't that throw fucking Ripley off right there?
That's true. Ooh, I feel like our fans
would
be
at first sight to me.
I feel like our fans would be remiss if we didn't bring up this classic scene, and that's the knife at breakfast scene with the fingers with Bishop. And Hudson. That's a great scene.
I like that scene. They obviously, to film this, did it very slowly and just sped it up. So if you're watching, one of the people in the background are like laughing, but since it's sped up, they look insane because they're like, oh. I did like that
practicing that. He'd been practicing the knife thing before they shot, and not thinking when he went to fly to London, he showed up at the airport with the knives he'd been practicing within his luggage.
And they didn't tell Paxton about that scene. They wanted like that pure shock from Paxton, so they didn't tell him. But another little interesting thing too is they obviously, with most movies, they film stuff out of order, but they waited for those front scenes with the Marines. They filmed that all stuff last because they wanted the cast and crew to seem like a unit that had been together for a while. They didn't want that to be like any awkwardness in that scene because this is supposedly a unit that's been together, so they wouldn't have that awkwardness. So that's why Cameron shot that last, so it kind of made a little bit more sense or believability. But all right, well, let's move into our segments then. Let's get into real talk. Now, we did our initial thoughts and we just walked through the movie. What is your like full-on opinion of this movie after the fact? Is it still hold up completely? I know we touched on it in our opening thoughts, but I don't know if talking about the movie or talking about certain moments like changed anything for you. So let's get real with it real quick and give our kind of final closing thoughts on Alien at this point. So Kevin, want to kick us off?
Yeah, it's kind of what I summarized at the beginning. At first, because they're doing some setup, it's a little slow, and you're meeting the Marines, and they kind of are trying to do character development, but they kind of made the characters. I don't know. They wanted to make an array of characters. They reminded me of like the gang from Michael Jackson's "Beat It" video. Like they had all these different people with different weird things, and they're kind of like talking to each other, and it just seemed a little hokey. But once you get past that, and you hit the start button, and the roller coaster takes off, then yeah, you're all in. And again, I think it's different from the first one. Like I was saying, the first one, they could rely on the fact that you didn't know what was going to happen. to carry it, so you didn't need lots of aliens. And I think in this one, because you knew what they were, I think what they did is the angle was, well, now there's just going to be more of them. You know what you're in for, but how are we going to up our game? So that's why it seems like there's more of them. But yeah, and then for me, once you get past the beginning, the slow beginning, and it takes off and kind of it keeps me till the end.
Yeah, Jimmy, any thoughts change at this?
No, I this is one of
This
my
movie's
all-time
never changing.
favorites. I mean, this whole like franchise, I know it started after Aliens, kind of started to go downhill, but I mean, it's so great because I feel like Alien and Aliens perfected the merging of two genres. You know, you had the very, like, I would consider the very first sci-fi horror in Aliens, and you had, you know, sci-fi action in this, and they blend so well together. And, you know, to kind of piggyback off of Kev, I love the camaraderie between the soldiers. I think, you know, I mean, I don't know, I could speak for you, Kev, but like I was in for 9 years, and, you know, I've met a Private Hudson. I've had like the quiet leader in Hicks. You know, I've had the old aging NCO and Apone. You know, I've had the two dudes that compete against each other for push-up contests and stuff. Like, you know,
and I agree. Like, that's why it struck me as they overplayed it. They didn't have to they didn't have to make them almost, you know,
stereotypical
character like character like almost comedy character like. They could have toned it down and made it a little more realistic.
Yeah.
But again, for the time, you know, who knows what, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Diaz, real talk. Anything else change on you?
Yeah, I had more questions. Like, after hearing everybody's stuff, like I said, the whole thing, they convinced her to go down there because they were going to go save people or possibly kill the thing that she was talking about. They already knew what she was fucking talking about. And like I said, she would have not been that calm when you saw the face huggers in the tube. So it just makes me, the movie, seeing it again, makes me want to question. I want more backstory on the company. How many years have they been doing the research on these things? Where are they getting them from? Like, how, you know, stuff like that. And I think that's what the interquel is going to be. The interquel can be between where there could be soldiers in that found the bugs before. Like, they know about it. That's what this new movie could possibly be about. Filling in the holes that this movie leaves me with now after rewatching it.
Yeah. Now, I think so. I enjoy this movie. I'm pretty sure I like it the least amount on this pod right now because I do like it, but I don't love it. It's just, for me, the stuff that I really enjoyed, I wanted more of. I think the length hurt it, just in the sense that I felt dead time. I love the practical effects. I love the looks of the xenomorph. It makes me want to dive into the series more. I've seen everything in this franchise, but really just kind of other than Alien and AVP, I've seen probably just once. Like, I've seen Aliens maybe twice, you know, now a couple more times than that, but I've seen
Did you see Resurrection?
Probably years ago, because there was a phase I honestly think I discovered this series with AVP, and that made me dive backwards.
I go back. Okay.
Oh, that's by your boy, Joss Whedon.
Yeah, I know. I love AVP. I don't care. I think that's
no Alien Resurrection.
Concept. Oh, Resurrection. Oh, okay.
Resurrection wasn't bad. Had Clay Morrow was in it, baby.
Oh yeah. But
yeah.
But no, I do enjoy this movie. I think I wanted more horror because that's where kind of Alien leans towards, and this is more action. So that's like an aspect I sort of miss. But no, overall I enjoy this movie, but it's not one of my favorites. So let's kick it over to Diaz. This is where we stack it up. So what are we stacking up with Aliens this week?
I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do and say, put Alien against Predator. We have movies for that already.
We've seen that twice.
But I have a couple stack ups. The first stack up is going to be like, all right, the xenomorph or the bug from Starship Troopers? Who's winning that fight?
The xenomorph.
I'd go xenomorph. I think that's pretty apex.
Yo, I don't know, man. Them Starship Trooper bugs were no fucking joke, bro.
Well, I
I
think
feel
it's
like those are more
They're bigger,
relentless. I think they're
They're
more
bigger, aren't they?
relentless.
Were they
The
big? Were they
xenomorphs are
bigger?
smarter.
but it's not even that.
True.
It's even if the bugs kill the xenomorphs are just streamlined with acidic blood. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's
true.
just so. I mean, it's
Perfect defense mechanism.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. If you get
So,
me, I'm gonna get you a little bit back too on the way out.
yeah. I mean, it might be a draw, but
Right? Because if the bug wins and then the blood kills it, who got the last kill? Xenomorph.
True. So okay, so that
How do they
Yeah.
compare in size?
I think the bugs in
oh, they're way bigger.
the Star Trek Trooper bugs are bigger, right?
Yeah,
They're huge.
Like,
and there's different kinds too.
Because you could even do Queen versus
yeah, like
the bugs.
Well, that's what. Yeah, that's what.
And like I
thinking.
said, I just think there was
the queen might be the one you.
there was so many numbers, like there was so many bugs. Like even if
Well,
there
you
was
also-
an army of xenomorphs, I feel like the bugs, even with the defense mechanism, the fact that there was so many of them, they would destroy them.
Well, actually, I might change my answer because remember the huge ones that had like the bombs. Yeah. So I mean, you deploy a few of those.
And they used kind
They
of the
had
same
acid
weapons on a
too.
lot
They
of
had
them
acid
right?
too. They burned somebody as well. Remember, they burned somebody. They burned
That's
one of
right.
the soldiers
Yeah.
with like acids too. I would
I'm
say
going
the
with
Star Trek Trooper bugs.
any given Sunday. Just depends.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's got the home field advantage?
It'd be closer than the experts think.
Yeah. Who's
All
got
right, so
home field
this-
advantage? Are they in space? Are they on a ship? Or are they on Earth?
This is a little out of left field. Xenomorphs or velociraptors?
Ooh,
Xenomorph.
similar types. This is like Jimmy. This has Jimmy written all over it.
Oh, it's got to be the xenomorphs. I mean, like once again,
Oh.
like even if
Raptors are the ultimate hunters.
yeah, but
Nah,
even if
Go
the
ahead.
raptor, you got to think about this. Even if the raptor, like, let's say it uses like its sickle claw to like slash through, well, there's going to be a whole bunch. Like their acidic blood is made to burst through, like
And
so
that acid burns through steel of a ship. Like nothing
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
than that.
Well, that's the tricky part because their only weapons, the velociraptors, to attack are talons or teeth.
No, that's
So-
my thing. That's what I
Any
was
bite,
thinking.
they're getting down.
But
I mean, their jaw's going to melt off.
Yeah.
Velociraptors also adapt. Once they attack and see that they can't attack you that way, they might try to kill you in different ways. Suffocation or not suffocation.
A gun.
They could
They find a
attack-
gun.
No, like
And
they
shoot.
can they can all pounce. If they all pounce on you and make little wounds, those
Yeah.
little wounds are not gonna kill them. A little burn, a little attack. If they all do a small slice, like a pack of
Yeah.
raptors on one xenomorph,
Yeah,
one
but
slice here, one slice here.
their bodies are made so if you do cause a laceration, their blood bursts out of them. So it's like an explosion of acidic blood.
I still think that xenomorph is winning, but I would love to see a xenomorph fight a raptor.
I think it would be a better one if it was the Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park, the one that can spit, because that venom paralyzes.
Yeah.
So that might be if the Dilophosaurus can get a good shot and spit its venom, it'll subdue a xenomorph. So that probably would be a better fight. But there's just any terrestrial organism on our planet, there's just no go unless you have conventional weapons and stuff. There's just
If it's
No, no.
hand-to-hand combat, if you draw
Yeah.
a wound, you're dead.
All right,
We just came up with a couple new movie concepts.
Yeah.
All right.
Coming to sci-fi. Going back to the whole Star Trek Troopers and Xenomorphs, Colonial Marines or Rico's Roughnecks? The soldiers from Starship Troopers or the soldiers from Aliens?
ooh, that's a good one.
These ones are very ragtag. Like Kevin said, they're almost caricatures of Marines.
These space Marines with the Vietnam era clothing and helmets, I'm not giving them much credit. Although when push came to shove, they delivered, I guess, right?
As much as Bill Paxton paid off in the end, man, he was such a bitch in this movie.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh?
He's just always. I mean, is this his first mission? Because like, I don't think there's Marines out there that. Maybe there are, but when they get into the thick of it, they're like, "Game over, man! What the fuck?"
Well, that's
man?
That's what sucks because
they cut the power, man. They're animals.
He says in the movie that he's got 2 weeks left and he's out.
Yeah.
So he's like a tenured Marine, and he's like pissing in his pants.
So we're saying the citizen infantry in we're going Starship Troopers as a collective here?
Yeah.
I would.
They have better weapons, I think, too. I think they have better weapons. All right, the last one, the triple threat main event heavyweight fight. Ripley versus Sarah Connor versus Alice from Resident Evil.
Ooh.
Okay, I haven't seen the Resident Evil movies.
None of them?
No.
All right, so we'll take her out then since you haven't seen
okay.
So
I'm a Sarah Connor fan.
I was gonna say I think Sarah Connor's got it. Ripley's a badass, but like,
well, they both kind of
only
started
because she
off.
has to. Like, she's not trained.
They both kind of started out the same. I mean, Sarah Connor in the first Terminator movie, wasn't she like working at like a diner or something like that?
She was.
You know, she was working at like a local restaurant, and like I said, like Ripley was, you know, kind of a blue collar cargo ship drive. Like, you know, I mean, they're both pretty. They both had to become bad at, like, you know, once Sarah Connor had experience with the Terminators, and once Ripley had experience with the Xenomorphs, you know, you see them kind of evolve. I think that's just going to be personal preference. Are you a Connor fan or a Ripley fan?
I like both, but I think Connor's.
Yeah, Connor.
Connor's because her weaponry skills, and I would go Sarah Connor too. But that'd be great.
That's
all the.
I want to see an alien Terminator and have them cross paths.
I was going to say there's a comic where like. Isn't it like Alien versus Predator versus Terminator? And then I think they got involved with like DC, like there's Batman versus the Xenomorph.
Yeah. It's the Batman versus Predator, Batman, Superman versus Alien. The comic book, the Terminator, Alien, Predator comic book. It starts off with Skynet about to lose, like the humans have finally got Skynet against the wall, so Skynet shuts itself down.
Well, a lot of those comics were Dark Horse comics. Yeah. Is that a division of DC?
Yes.
Okay, so there you go. That's
the whole concept of the comic was, like I said, Skynet shut itself down. Hundreds of years later, Skynet turns back on, and in order to beat the humans who have now evolved ridiculously, they start looking for different things to you know how like the human exoskeletons on the Terminator. They start thinking of other things to put an exoskeleton on. So they mix human DNA and xenomorph DNA and make an alien Terminator. It's basically a robot with an outer alien. And that's what the Predator and humans are hunting. It's a pretty dope comic, but it's basically Skynet makes a fucking xenomorph skeleton.
It's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why like more like, you know, franchises don't like go into their like quote unquote like non-canonical stuff, because that actually sounds pretty cool. Like, you know, how many times we're going to see like Alien Romulus? I'm sure it'll be awesome, but how many times? Like, it's probably going to be the same concept. I guarantee you what's going to happen. I can tell you what's going to happen. The Romulus or whatever, they're gonna hone in on a beacon or whatever. They're gonna find this empty Romulus ship. And there's going to be face huggers I mean, the trailer says itself. Like it's the same thing as Alien.
What's happening?
There's something in the water.
What do you mean there's something in the water?
I don't know, there's just something in the fucking water.
Fucking thing's hunting us.
Open the door, come on.
Run.
it's a mixture of Alien 1 and Alien 2.
Yeah.
There's a couple soldiers on the ship, not many. There's
I
more
hope I'm wrong.
aliens.
I hope I'm wrong, but
All right, let's get into our next little segment. And this is one that I really, really like. So, 2 truths and a lie.
Ooh, let's go.
Don't lie to me.
So, Kevin, have you picked 2 truths and a lie for us this week?
I have indeed.
Ooh, all right. This is fun. So, if you're a little bit newer to us, Kevin here hits us with 2 truths from this movie and 1 lie, and we have to try to figure out what the lie is.
All right, here they are. 3 of them. So Ripley's downsized miniature bathroom that's shown after she wakes up, she's covered in sweat, and she goes into the little bathroom and washes her face. This is just before she calls them back and says she'll do the mission. That little bathroom is actually an aircraft bathroom. They bought an actual little bathroom from British Airways. That little modular bathroom is an actual aircraft bathroom. 2.
All right.
The statement that Hudson mutters when he's searching for the colonists, and he's like, "Stop your grinning and drop your linen," which oddly out of place. I mean, that line could have landed if it was in a different situation than, "Hey, I found the people, so hey, drop the pants." But that's actually from the lyrics of an AC/DC song.
Huh. Okay.
And then we were talking about that forklift, the mobility unit. So she uses that loader that she knows how to operate because she was working on the dock to kill the queen. But the prop designers actually did base that off an actual forklift designed by a UK company, Combi Lift, that let the operators use their arms and legs to control it in a more human manner.
I'm going to go with the last one. I think the last one's a lie. I feel like that wouldn't have been a mechanism they used in the 80s.
You've just hated that forklift since the beginning.
I hate that forklift. I hate that goddamn forklift.
I don't like that forklift either.
I'm gonna take the last one. That's what I'm gonna go with. Where do you guys stand? What are you thinking?
You know what? They had a budget, but I don't see them spending money on a miniature bathroom from an airplane. How much would they charge for that? How much are they gonna buy that for?
Well, they didn't buy the whole airplane, just the shitter.
But who makes that call? Who did Cameron look at it and go, I need this right now. I want this airplane decommissioned, and I'm taking this little crapper. No, the only thing that makes that believable, he could have had to fly on a British Airway airplane to get there, and was like, I could use this in the movie.
This is perfect. Yeah.
I'll say the bathroom. The bathroom should have happened.
Apparently, in the future, they just need small bathrooms. But they don't need those. Oh man, like drop your linens. Sounds like an AC/DC line. But all I can think of is like "Roll Tonight" to the guitar bite, kind of. So it sounds like that. But you know what, Nick? I'm gonna go down the ship with you. I'm gonna go with the loader. I'm gonna go with the loader.
Yeah, the forklift one's bullshit.
All right. Yeah.
The AC/DC song is Shake a Leg. And they did actually buy a small modular bathroom from British Airways.
That's ridiculous.
Which is crazy when you're talking budget too, because there was another little thing in here that I saw was the scene with the 12 pods. They only really had the budget they made 4 pods, but the way they shot it was with mirrors. So it looks like it extended longer. And it looked like there was multiple units of those like sleep containment units. So that's how that was achieved.
I think I read that the opening scene where they have the robot cutting the door open when they find her floating in the drop ship, they wouldn't budget the automatic arm to cut that. So I think Cameron paid for like the welding arm himself or something, said I'll pay for the arm myself. And I didn't notice it, but I read that like in continuity, like when the welder is cutting open that door, I guess you can see the grappling hook still at it where she had shot the grappling hook out the door in the first movie.
Okay. So let's get to our next segment. Jimmy, I think he's been chomping at the bits to get here. This would be our quote corner. So typically we'll go around and kind of ask for everybody's favorite quotes, but Jimmy, I know you have a bunch of them. Like you're ready to fire at the hip. So why don't you give us the quotes and we'll all tell you our favorite.
Well, I
And
gotta.
if he doesn't list one of ours, you can shoot yours out there. But
I'm gonna
Jimmy,
start
what do
with
we got?
the most famous one. Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah.
This is another Ripley quote I like. You know, Burke, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. And then there's, they cut the power. What do you mean they cut the power? How could they cut the power, man? They're animals. Hold on, this gets better.
This was a very quotable movie. There's a lot of, like Kevin was saying earlier, a lot of little one-liners here and there.
Oh, this is the best one. This is Private Hudson. I'm ready, man. Check it out. I am the ultimate badass. State of the badass art. You do not want to fuck with me. Check it out. Hey, Ripley, don't worry. Me and my squad of ultimate badasses will protect you. Check it out. Independently targeting particle beam phalanx. Fwap! Fry half a city with this puppy. We got tactical smart missiles, phase plasma pulse rifles, RPGs. We got sonic electronic ball breakers. We got nukes. We got knives, sharp sticks. All right, knock it off, Hudson. And obviously, like my favorite, we touched upon, but like it's when they're in sublevel 3, and he starts getting the his motion detector starts going off, and it's between Hudson, Frost, Hicks, and Dietrich. And he's like, I got signals, I got readings in front and behind. Where, man? I don't see shit. He's right. There's nothing back here. Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us. Tracker's off scale, man. They're all around us, man. Jesus. Maybe they don't show up in infrared at all. And then boom, gets them.
They're coming out of the goddamn walls, man.
Right.
Oh, here's a good one. This is Ripley, Hicks, and Hudson. Ripley. How long after we're declared overdue can we expect a rescue? Corporal Hicks. 17 days. Hudson. 17 days? Hey, man, I don't want to raid on your parade, but we're not going to leave 17 hours. Those things are going to come in here. They're just like the Hudson!
So which one of those is your favorite, Jimmy?
They're coming out of the walls. Or no, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing back here. It's the motion detector quote. There's just a lot happening in that one.
Kevin, did he mention your favorite, or what else do you have? What's your favorite?
I mean, they're all kind of fall in the same category. It's all that military, the Marine guys with all that banter back and forth. And then, of course, Hudson's "Oh, woe is me" quotes are good. But there was one that's like kind of subtle, but I thought it was good, is when at the end where like Ripley says, "Oh, my name's Helen," or kind of like saying their first names, and she's going to head outside because he's hurt. And he just says, "Don't be gone too long, Helen." Yeah. Because like that was his name, Dwayne, right? And she's like, "Helen." And then he's like, "Don't be gone too long, Helen."
Oh, so I do have one quote, and I think it's a complete shocker. It always struck me as a total ripoff from Jaws.
We need a bigger boat.
No,
a bigger ship.
It's the same scene where Brody's calling for rescue, and that's when Quint goes in and smashes the radio with the bat. And he goes, "That's just great. That's just great. Where the hell are we now?" And then Hudson does the same exact thing. "Oh, that's just great, man. That's just great." And he keeps going. That's totally ripped off from Jaws.
Another Cameron originality. Diaz, what's your favorite quote?
The game over and game over is probably one of the classic lines.
Game over, man. Game over. That's it, man. That's my number one. Number two is right in my tagline here. When they're taking all the guns and all the clips from everyone. And Hicks, like a complete badass, goes with the shotgun and goes, "I like to keep this handy for close encounters." Stop it!
I got a good one. I got another good one I forgot, where Ripley realizes they're in it's pretty much a giant reactor, and Lieutenant Gorman's like, only incinerators, like no ammo. And Frost goes, "What are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?"
I do like that.
Well, now that you say that, there's one more I forgot too. I don't know if you're keeping up with another Hudson line. I don't know if you're keeping up with current events, man. We just got our asses kicked.
Ooh, I got another good Frost quote when they're all eating breakfast together, and they're all talking about clearly they've had like intergalactic relations with other species. And one of the soldiers like goes to Frost. He goes, you know, except the Arcturian you were with was a man. Hey man, it don't matter if it's Arcturian, baby.
I think my favorite's just the classic. That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? It's just I just love it. Just the panic in Paxton. He's just
Dude,
such
he just said Frost. I forgot Frost when
I
she
love
smacks
Frost.
smacks the cornbread out of Bishop's
I was just
hand.
gonna say that one.
That's the
Because
one.
you don't like the cornbread either.
Cornbread either.
I may be
like
synthetic, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you had to pick one good thing, one bad thing, and one ugly thing, whatever didn't age up as well over time, what would they be? So, Kevin, what is your good?
Has to be the alien. You know, I mean, this was before CGI, no green screens. I mean, they using just real props and cinematography, right? I think they did a bang up job on that.
Yeah. Jimmy, the good?
So yeah, kind of piggybacking off of Kev, Ridley Scott, I think, wanted a lot of like mystery shrouding the alien. You know, where did the aliens come? Where did those when they go onto that derelict spacecraft? Where did all these eggs come from? And that was kind of like the mystery. We don't know. You know, is the xenomorph an engineered organism created by a higher species, or are they organic naturally? And I think what I liked about it was Cameron kind of gave them that origin story. To me, they're intergalactic insects. You know, they have a queen, they have a hive, they want to propagate the species, they want to keep growing their species. And the effects. The queen is like 1,000% original, classic, iconic alien, and yeah.
Diaz, they all came there in a ship, though, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Diaz,
at least in the first one.
Yeah. Diaz, you're good for this?
The opening scene, like I said, the psych out with thinking that Ripley was gonna die, that the face hug, not the face, it ripping out the chest
burster.
Yeah, the chest burster. That opening scene and the scene where whenever you see the xenomorphs in the vents, them trying to be strategic and hunt them. This movie showed a hunting aspect for them, and I like that. It showed that they were intelligent. Like the scene where the queen told them to move aside, and the two aliens backed off. They're smart. This movie shows that they were smart. I love that. The good was showing the intelligence of the xenomorph. That's what I liked.
Yeah. I think for the good, I'm kind of in where Kevin was at, was just the visuals, the practical effects, and the character design kind of all tied together. Just being able to create these, three characters really with the face huggers, the queen, and the xenomorphs. The fact that they pulled this off in the 80s is insane. You had the queen running around, you had fighting, you had action sequences, you had them coming out of the water, you had them crawling in the vents. Like that was top notch. So let's get to the bad. So Kevin, what's one bad thing that you noticed from this?
I mean, there's not much to really pick on here, and I kind of beat it already to death. But I think just the Marine characters, that whether it was the writing or the acting, probably the writing, I don't know. They just seem overplayed. They could have made them a little more like realistic characters. But again, it's like nitpicking up front, and then once the movie kicks in, you don't care anyway. So,
yeah. Jimmy, you're bad.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with these kind of films, and I feel like we've done a few where it's like, man, you're just kind of reaching at this point. I think the bad for me, and it's nothing bad per se. I wish Apone survived.
He got taken out pretty early.
Well, I mean, I know you need the, it's kind of one of those situations where like, you got a guy like Hicks who kind of doesn't really care to lead, but he kind of he gets everyone to step up from their original positions. And that's why I think Apone had to go. But I think it would have been really cool to have him with Ripley
make it all the way.
Yeah. Or at least sacrifice him, or at least have that blaze of glory moment with Vasquez, sacrificing himself instead of
or he's the one that goes back in for Newt.
Yeah. I think that would have been cool.
Diaz, you're bad.
Fucking Newt. Speaking of Newt, no,
we didn't even talk about her really.
Yo, no fucking need for her in this story. That if this podcast did anything, just understand we might have said Newt 3 times. We mentioned her scene once, and I think Kevin just did it.
Newt, wait! Newt! Newt! Newt!
I know. Yeah, we mentioned the water scene. You could have put anyone in there. Dude, Newt was not fucking needed in this movie at all.
I would have left her out. I would have left her.
I disagree.
Nothing.
Well,
Look,
the whole thing between
replace her with anybody else. An old man, an engineer, a woman, a cat, a dog.
The whole thing is in the very beginning of the movie, like she lost her daughter. Ripley did. She lost her daughter, and then you have this like.
She didn't lose her daughter. Her daughter grew old. She didn't lose her. It doesn't happen to her daughter.
Her daughter died. She lost her daughter. Her daughter died.
She got old.
So it becomes this ultimate battle of like motherhood between the Queen Xenomorph and Ripley. That's like the whole like.
Newt even had the name of a pet. It could have been a cat. It could have been a dog.
Well, we already had Jonesy from
before the end of the movie, though. Somewhere she calls her mom or something, right?
Yeah.
Calls Ripley mommy or something.
Not necessarily. Like I said, you take that arc out the movie. Nick, you said you had too much filler, too much stuff, right? Take her whole character out.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't really talk about her that much, and I missed a couple points because I kind of hated her. I didn't put it as my bad, but I'll just piggyback off yours and give you mine real quick. But a pretty underutilized storyline. Like if you want to really phone home about that like motherhood thing, then like make it more prevalent. But it was sort of just like in the middle for me. It never really was like, oh, a battle of mothers. Like she's doing this for her. And that never crossed my mind. It was more just like she just wants to be a good person and help this weird little homeless looking girl out. Like I could have done without her. She was pretty useless.
No, I get it. I mean, they had the commonalities, dude, because like I said, like Ripley, was in hypersleep and her daughter died of old age. And then like, Newt's parents died. So like they found each other. And
so
then obviously
I get to steal this kid. I don't have to do any paperwork.
Right. And then like the Queen Xenomorph, who's protective of her species. So it kind of becomes this like ultimate heavyweight battle between like
mothers.
Yeah.
So I'll get into my bad. Kevin mentioned beating the dead horse. I'm also going to beat the dead horse a little bit. And my bad was kind of the final battle where it turned into a boxing match of the Ripley in her stupid little mover suit when she got into the forklift machine again. And that was like this big reveal. It was like, oh, the door's open. And here's Ripley in this very slow moving, stationary yellow suit where she's strapped in and can't move at all. Like the Xenomorph just could have swung and popped her right in the chest, just like she did to Bishop. Like, why would you put yourself in this vulnerable position to be in this like very slow motion fighting machine? And then it turns into a boxing match because she just kind of punches the queen a little bit. And then again, like Jimmy said, the ending sort of was just pretty identical to the first one. So I thought that was a little bit of a anticlimactic. Like I thought, James Cameron's this big genius. He couldn't have come up with a different style of ending. But I just felt it was a little lackluster of the ending. That was my bad, was the fact that it was in the stupid freight machine boxing match. And then
it's like the miniature version of the Pacific Rim things.
Yeah, the Jaegers.
It's her version.
Let's get into the ugly, something that might not have just aged as well as this movie had thought. So, Kevin, what was your ugly?
I think the only tiny thing that I would say was ugly was the line that wasn't needed, the stop your grinning and drop your lid. And again, it could have worked somewhere, but it's like, I found the colonists. So woohoo, everybody drop your pants. I didn't get it. I don't know. They were trying too hard to get some like really quotable lines in there.
They definitely had like a board of like 40 lines, and they're like, these all have to make it in the script, non-negotiable.
Somebody like really had that in their head and like really forced that in. That we got to write this in somewhere, like, and they just hammered that square peg into the round hole somewhere.
They're like, yeah, this is gonna be the tagline. This is gonna be on the poster.
They thought that like that's gonna be like pop culture everywhere is gonna be quoting us, which maybe it did. I don't remember it. But I wonder, did they have to pay AC/DC? Did they have to pay them rights?
Right, Jimmy. What is your ugly from this?
So the special effects, obviously, especially for 86, are second to none. But there is one really brutal scene when the hatch opens up. The hatch opens up when Ripley and the Queen are fighting, and when the hatch opens up, they fall into it, and it's a zoomed out shot of like two like action figures of like the Queen and then like Ripley, and they just awkwardly fall. They literally look like, does anyone know what I'm talking about? They literally look like toys that just drop right into the hatch. Yeah, it's just like wicked. It's such a quick scene, but it's just so
it stuck out compared to how well everything else was.
Two stiff mannequins.
Yeah, but the funny thing is they look so small. They look like action figures, and they just drop right in.
Well, when Ripley's running around holding Newt, that she's not really carrying her. They built like a little styrofoam doll that she's running around with.
Diaz, what is your ugly?
I don't know if you can see this, but I outlined it. Nick, my ugly, word for word, the fight with the Queen and when Ripley was in that goddamn machine, the slow walking machine. The Queen would have killed her just as easy as she killed Bishop. Like, word for word, what you said. But that to me was not bad. That was ugly. But because you said that as your ugly, as your bad, I won't use that as my ugly. I'll go to something that you cannot do in today's world. Vasquez was Goldstein, right? The Jewish woman played a Spanish woman, and they colored her in order to play a Spanish woman. That don't age well today.
Not happening.
That was. They were upset about that then.
Exactly. So now it would be canceled instantly. You can't do that. Yep. So that would be my ugly, even though that damn forklift suit wasn't killing anything, man.
They gave her contact lenses for brown eyes. Do you know who Jeanette Goldstein is? Do you remember in Terminator 2 where Arnold Schwarzenegger is on the phone and he poses as John Connor's voice and makes me.
Oh, is that the mother?
Yeah, that's Jeanette Goldstein. Yes. Your parents are dead. Like,
and I don't know why they worked so hard to like get her in there, because I think out of anybody, I think her acting is the worst out of the entire cast.
Yeah,
at least in this movie.
She is like a stereotype. Like, it's bad. Like
that you can't do that now. You can't do that.
For my ugly, I had I just put the aliens' strength. I feel like their strength took a hit in this movie because they were so well disposed of. When I think of aliens, I just think of like this indestructible, like you said, Jimmy, the perfect weapon. But they sort of just felt more like pawns in this movie, and we're just kind of like strength in numbers, not strength in being. So that was kind of what didn't age well for me, because I had this pre-built, in my mind that, they are just not indestructible, but just armored and so strong and so smart, and they just kind of got mowed down. So before we get out of here, let's get into our time machine. All right. We're going to go through the years and kind of look at this movie from a couple of different perspectives. So first up, we're going to do our cast swap. So for this, you can pick any movie, past, present. You could do a TV series, whatever. And we're going to recast this movie based off of the cast and crew of a other project. So who wants to start us off on this one?
I can go. I guess I'll kick us off. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would do the cast of Saving Private Ryan. I would probably put Tom Hanks. You know what? Let's kill off Tom Hanks early. Let's make him Sergeant Apone. He's already the captain. He's already got the senior leadership in Saving Private Ryan. So we'll make him Apone. Give me Edward Burns as Ripley. Give me Tom Sizemore as Hudson. Give me Barry Pepper, because he's kind of quiet. in that movie too, soft spoken. Give me Barry Pepper as Hicks. Give me Vin Diesel, a young Vin Diesel as Rico Frost.
Okay.
So we'll, he dies early in Saving Private Ryan. He can die early in Aliens. Give me Adam Goldberg as, he's kind of weaselly. Give me him as Burke. He's kind of, we can make him into a bad guy. Giovanni Ribisi. I remember him from a lot of stuff, Ted and stuff. Give me him as Gorman. He can play Gorman. Ooh, you know what? There's Bryan Cranston right there, and he also has a small role. We can make Bryan Cranston one of those like Weyland-Yutani executives that totally just like dismisses Ripley right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, no, there's nothing up there.
Him and Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, just sitting at the table smoking their cigarettes. Yeah, that's a pretty.
I like that.
That's good. I would do Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, Saving Private.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go next? Who else? What
I'll
do we
go.
got?
I'll go. Jimmy, notice you liked her in the story. You had no Newt in your recast, did you?
Oh, are we going to go that far? Give me Matt Damon. Oh, they got to go rescue Matt Damon. There you go.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon is going to play the role of Newt. We'll call him Gecko.
No, we'll call him Newton. It's Newton. Newt for Newton.
Oh, okay.
Big Newton.
Mine, I'm going way out of the box here.
Well played, by the way.
I held that in for a while. Like,
dude, I was strictly thinking of the Colonial Marines that can go in there, do that rescue mission. I was not thinking of, you know what? Continue. Dazzle us, Eric.
Mine is the Harry Potter cast, baby. Harry Potter.
That whole cast is
Harry
Newts.
Potter cast.
They're all Newts. They're all kids.
Daniel Radcliffe is Burke. Daniel Radcliffe is Burke. Ron, the guy that plays Ron Weasley, is my my Hudson. Emma Watson will be my Ripley. What's his face? Alan Rickman will be my Apone. My Gorman would be the guy that plays damn, I messed this up. The guy that plays Longbottom.
Oh, Neville. Yeah.
Is this like
Neville?
Is this going to be year one where they're all like 12 going in? Because that'd be awesome. Alan Rickman
No,
like 11-year-olds into a planet.
Listen, and my the guy that plays Malfoy will be my Hicks.
Okay.
So that's and they're the person they're trying to rescue isn't a female. It's actually going to be a dwarf. It's going to be the guy that plays the Goblin, Vern Troyer. Will be who they're trying to get.
I thought you were going to say
he's my Newt. Okay, he's my Newt. My mini me is my Newt. Okay, that is my cast for Aliens. You can't beat it. Can't beat it.
Newt,
I'm telling you.
You complete me. All right, might as well. I'll share mine. Let's go. I'm going to keep this train rolling. So for my cast, let's get this all squared up. I'm going to go into the Marvel Universe, and I'm going to tap into Thor Ragnarok, which I can't remember if I've done previously, but I only have I think I casted about 6 of them. So I'm going to give Tessa Thompson the lead as Ripley. So I think she's got badass written all over her. For Hudson, I'm going to have Mark Ruffalo. Now, Burke is a little trickier because there's 2 people in this cast that I think could be like ultimate shysters. And that would either be between Tom Hiddleston or Jeff Goldblum. Not sure which one I would rather play that character. So I'll probably go Hiddleston because he's a little Weasley kind of guy. Apone, I'd have Chris Hemsworth take that. Corporal Hicks, I'd use Idris Elba. And then Bishop, the synthetic, I'd have Taika Waititi portray that. And then to fill out the rest of the cast, I'd have, Carl Urban, Benedict Cumberbatch, and probably, I don't think.
I bet
Anthony
Benedict
Hopkins is
Cumberbatch would be
too old.
Benedict Cumberbatch would be a really good Burke.
Yeah. There's a lot of Weasley looking guys, but I think Hiddleston with his role as Loki could fit that role. But maybe Goldblum there, and then Hiddleston, Benedict, and Carl Urban rolling out the cast of Marines. And then Anthony Hopkins, like you said, Jimmy, I would have him be kind of up in the front as one of the Wayland execs. And I'm not going to cast a Newt because I don't think she's prevalent enough.
She doesn't deserve a spot.
Oh no, she could be Meek.
Meek, Korg, Meek and Korg.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. I was using Thor Ragnarok. So Kevin, who are you cast swapping with?
We're going Barbie cast.
Barbie.
All right, let's run through this. So Ripley is obviously Margot Robbie. Hicks will be Ryan Gosling.
Okay.
Hudson is Simu Liu.
Ooh, I love Simu.
Burke is John Cena.
I forgot he's in this.
Vasquez is Alexandra Shipp.
Okay.
Bishop would be Scott Evans. And Gorman would be Kingsley Benadir.
All right. I didn't know how you were going to pull this out of that. I thought you were going to do a full-on female cast swap.
Oh, that would have been a good take on it too.
There's a lot in there. I forgot how loaded that cast was. So let's get into our time warp real quick. What does this movie look like today? Do you think today this comes out as a standalone movie, or do you think this would have been better served as some sort of streaming service series? Would this have been better as like a 10-parter or just a straight up movie?
Well, didn't FX or Disney did an Alien series that's out, or was
I
going to
heard
be out
about
and got
it.
canceled, or
Yeah, I don't know.
It never was fully released. Like the whole thing didn't get released.
So what do we think? What would you have been more intrigued by if this was in the movie theaters, or if you saw this, coming next fall to Netflix?
Netflix all day. With the way that Netflix is budget wise, you can do a lot of special effects for it. And like I said, this movie was great, but it had so many holes. You could do a backstory of the company first finding aliens, realizing the money that can be there for the, to learn about it. You can do a backstory on the soldiers, show them at boot camp, becoming friends, becoming a team, and learning they're basically going on suicide missions to capture an alien that they don't even believe exists. You have a backstory for the soldiers, a backstory on the company. You can do everything on what Wayland Otani, how he got the money, what's his obsession with this creature. Are there other creatures similar to this out there that they've been finding on their hunt for the ultimate creature? And you don't reveal the xenomorph till the season finale. So the whole season 2 is you find the hive.
If it was going to be a series, they would have to, like you said, they'd have to build out like the storyline about the corporations and how they're exploiting and stuff. What they couldn't do is have every week an hour of just shooting aliens.
Yeah.
Because they would just get old fast.
But you can
have to be all the back stuff going on, the backstabbing with the corporations fighting for it, and who got one and who
you
didn't.
can have some action. You have different creatures, or you show clearly the corporal Marines are for what corporation, what planet are those Marines from? Earth, Mars. Are there different branches of the military? Those are the colonial Marines? Is there a Navy? Is there a are there other branches? Like, where's
Space
their
Force.
leadership? Where's their leadership? Is it is it going to be a government thing? Is the government going to overthrow like I said, a lot of political things you can do on top of having them kill random aliens here and there. Just never xenomorphs to the end. Like
different governments fighting over this, different countries' governments fighting over.
And they find different creatures. You do, a creature for an episode, something that looks like a spider, something that looks like a wolf, like different shit, like until you get to the actual xenomorph. And then it's like, whoa, we found exactly what we were looking for, and we shouldn't have been looking for this.
Yeah. So, Kevin, what do you think? Better as a series or a movie?
Well, I think it would work either, but I think just at what we've been talking about, you could do a series. It would give you more time to expand on again. I would be the corporate aspect of it, more about that, the politics of should we go find another one of these things or not, and mixed in with some of the encounters, but it couldn't just be alien blasting for 60 minutes a week,
Yeah, I'd like to see this world expanded in a series format because, like you said, I want to see the behind the scenes stuff of this. Because then you could cut back and forth between home base and the mission, home base and the mission, stuff like that.
They finally do bring one of these back to contain, and it goes sideways, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next thing you know, the entire city of New York is all cocooned. You're like, now what do we do? Nuke it.
You do someone that someone that wants a face hugger on them, someone that doesn't, and be like, oh, well, just cut it out of me when I get in.
Yeah,
I let it infect me and just do surgery, take it out of me.
Well, maybe not this movie necessarily as a series, but the Weyland-Yutani Company. You could do a series off of that, because I feel like if you stretch this kind of movie out into a 10-part series or whatever, there'd be a lot of slow filler almost episodes, and I feel like this is good for what it is. Now I feel like a Weyland-Yutani prequel with Bishop Weyland, because that's pretty much who his own synthetic is named after. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool to see Bishop try to, and you kind of see it a little bit in AVP, but it's not considered canon. But it'd be great to see how Weyland-Yutani starts. And then I think the way you end the series is, someone comes back implanted with a chest burster, and then there's your cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. All right. Time Machine.
Easter eggs and all that. So perfect. Yeah.
Right. Time Machine double feature. Pick any movie that pairs with this movie. If you're watching this movie, what's the other movie you're going to be watching? Jimmy, what's your double feature featuring aliens?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go the obvious route and go Predator. It's just, we've already seen that.
What idiot would do that?
Yeah, right. We've already done it. Here's a weird one, but stay with me, folks. Just because of the outbreak and how much they multiplied and reproduced, give me aliens and give me Gremlins.
Okay.
It's a stretch, but if I'm feeling for something to, fast move, fast reproduce, overpopulate, and, it could go sideways and stuff, give me Gremlins if I'm not going the Predator route.
All right. Diaz, what are you going?
I'm watching this, and then I'm watching Star Trek Troopers.
Yeah. Okay. God damn it.
I was only because, like I said, is the best parts of this movie were the soldiers killing the aliens, fighting the aliens. That whole fucking movie is soldiers fighting aliens. And you get to see a little bit. It's not a great movie by any means, don't get me wrong. And that's in the 90s well. So we might do a Star Trek Trooper down the line maybe. But it's in the same wheelhouse. They show backstory. You find out about the characters before they join the military. You show military training. You show background on the bugs. You show that they're in battle with the bugs. They know about the bugs. They're learning about the bugs. It's literally, they kind of literally copied this and dumbed it down, but answered questions that people had about this in that. But I would just like the action sequences. It's just more fucking aliens killing people and people killing aliens. This action and death. Exactly what we didn't get in the last movie. No death and twisters. There's plenty of death in this.
Spoilers.
Kevin, what is your Time Machine double feature?
A little bit of old school. I would roll from this into Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
Oh, so malevolent and benevolent, because aren't they like nice aliens?
Well, they're definitely not chest bursters.
So I'm going to go aliens, and I'm going to tap a little bit more into the horror, and I'm going to go The Thing.
I feel like
swear to God,
I swear to God, I was like, I'm surprised Nick's not going to say. I'm like, I think he's going to say The Thing because of the horror aspect.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think they're similar. I think the creature design is, similar to the face hugger and that like practical scurrying effect. yeah, there's a lot of aspects of both movies that I think line up together. So that would probably be my go-to.
I don't know what's going on with me today. You guys knocked it out of the park. Wait, can I change my answer? Let me change my answer.
You're stuck. You're stuck.
Wait, I got a good one.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, I got a good one. Give me The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Okay.
Why?
You know? Why? Did I do something to you today? What's going on with us?
I'm just curious. I'm curious.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
But you
Just say good choice and move on.
Yeah, just agreed with blindly.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding. Mainly because, it's kind of, I feel like these xenomorphs are very hot, they're like a hive mind. They're more insect-like, they're more bug-like. And just the special effects too, all the slime, the grossness, the
creepiness aspect, the whole
seeing Seth Brundle just deteriorate into like a human hybrid fly, almost looking very extraterrestrial like. I mean, it's just that time of like that was kind of the style back then.
I get.
in the
Also,
80s,
remember they told him not to do that. Don't mess with that shit, and he didn't listen.
Yep.
That's like they don't listen in the alien movies. I get it. That's I was just wondering if that's why.
Why?
All right,
I don't know.
Let's get into our popcorn scale before we get out of here. On a scale of 1 being burnt all the way to 5, perfectly golden buttered popcorn, where does this movie land for you? So, Kevin, where is this on your popcorn scale?
Solid 4.
4? Okay. Diaz?
I was torn between 3.5 and 4, but my hatred for Newt's character arc gets it to 3.5.
Dude,
you don't need it.
Let it go.
I don't
half a kernel.
She is worth half a kernel because if you
I'm not a
her screen time, if we look it up, that could have been more backstory on the soldiers, more backstory on the company. You could have done.
I'm gonna find a
America,
new
help me out
T-shirt
here.
and send it to you.
And the thing I don't mind, I don't
Number
mind
one
her act. I don't mind her character, her acting. It's just the character wasn't necessary. Especially, it bothers me that she became nothing after this movie either. So in reality, there was no need for her for anything. See, I answered the question. I don't like the character. That's why. 3.5 because of Newton. 3.5 because of Newton.
Jimmy, where are you at? Are you gonna give half a point because Diaz took away half a point? You're giving half a point for Newt.
He's gonna give the half a kernel back.
God,
4.5 for Newt.
Justice for Newt.
I just don't get it. I'm not even the biggest Newt supporter. You're just not seeing the overall message for the movie. I don't get it, dude.
The message is aliens killing soldiers for the company's behalf.
Listen,
that's the point of the movie.
Boy. All right. Have we done any 5s yet? Do we know?
I don't think I've given a 5 out.
I don't know if I have either. I want to save my 5. Give me 4.85.
Really going into the decimals.
So you have half a kernel just sitting there. Not even half a kernel. There's a piece of popcorn that fell out your mouth. So it's 4.5.
Yeah, because my mouth was my jaw was on the floor because the film is so great. And like, I don't understand what is your, vendetta against this poor child actress.
There's no need.
It's not child anymore. All right. I feel like this will piss people off. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
All right. I got to go, boys.
For me, yeah.
But why?
Why? It just wasn't, I think, coming off of seeing, like, obviously, when I first saw this, I saw AVP first, and then I went and I saw Alien. So I had more horror in my mind, and then this one was just more action sci-fi. And action sci-fi aren't necessarily my two combos of movies that I generally go towards. I feel like sci-fi and fantasy are kind of worlds I don't really enjoy as much. For me, they sort of all look and feel the same to an extent. I think if this movie was an hour and 45, it'd be a 3.5 for me. And just like just get in and get out. Like they're really at the end of the day, this movie is like 5 scenes. Like it's pretty long scenes, really. It's like getting to the planet, securing the place. There's a breakout, investigating, and then the hive / conclusion. And it's like they're pretty long scenes, and you can kind of break them up a little bit more. But I do think like if you want to just make a fairly simple-ish story, like just get in, get out, do your thing, and like we're all better for it. So
this is the most heartbreaking episode ever. This is brutal. This is brutal. You're gonna sit here. You're gonna sit here and listen. I understand opinions and everything.
Godzilla.
You're gonna sit here and tell me that you're gonna give Aliens 3 out of 5.
That's above average.
You disgust me.
It's above average.
I can't argue them. I really like the movie, and I only gave it a 3.5. So.
Look, if I was rating this like how well of a movie and how good this movie is, I would go 4.5. But for me, this just isn't necessarily my genre that I super love.
I'm just not a huge sci-fi person. You're supposed to blindly follow.
Jimmy just went over this with me. Always blindly follow. That's what Jimmy just told me. You got to follow that too.
This is hard.
Oh man.
It's crazy, Nick, because I was gonna say, why didn't you like it? But you explained it. Like,
yeah,
I get where you're coming from because you saw Alien vs Predator first, and in that movie, the alien was menacing. He was fucking taking out predators, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the aliens were fucking shit up in that one. So I get it killed predators like it was nothing because it killed a couple of the predators rather easily. But then it's a whole bunch of them are dying because of regular soldiers. So I kind of get it. But
see, that's a fun movie. That's a wicked fun movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
But like, look at the intelligence level of these aliens. Even the one in the first one, like the other one was able to maneuver through the ship, use its body to camouflage and to hide in plain sight. These ones were able to. They had some form of intelligence to the point high enough where they can cut power, communicate, move together as a team. The ones in AVP, I feel like just to almost overcompensate for the Predator's intelligence, they made them like straight up animals. Like almost, they weren't like watered down. They were very primitive. They were, just animalistic.
So, question for you, Jimmy. Do you think it's like kind of like jungle cats, like tigers and lions and leopards? Wouldn't it be nice if we found out that the xenomorphs had different type of breeds?
Well, that's the thing. So anytime a face hugger latches on to any different type of species, they'll take on those physical traits. So like in AVP Requiem, you get the Predalien, which has the dreadlocks, the mandibles, stuff like that. All these xenomorphs that we see are from like humans. So they have a lot. They stand upright. They have a lot more.
Alien 3 was a dog, right?
Depending upon which cut you go with, there was an ox, and then there is a dog, and then they call it the runner. That one moves like a dog. Like
remember we were talking earlier about the comic book. I looked a little bit more into it. Not only were the Skynet was trying to make them hybrids or whatever, a face hugger got onto a Terminator, like a humanoid Terminator. So the comic ended on a cliffhanger. The comic book 4-part series ended with the face hugger coming out of a Terminator's chest. They were multiplying, so now they were machines. They were self-multiplying. So that's fucking freaky.
The chest burster and the face hugger are all like, well, not the chest burster, but the face hugger will always be the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever it latches onto the host
qualities.
It'll take qualities from the host. So like
that makes it so crazy because that's how the series can be like too. You can show a face hugger on a lion, a face hugger in different situations. I thought a series would be great.
Oh, there's like artwork out there. There's like a T-Rex xenomorph, and it's awesome.
A face hugger on Godzilla.
Right.
Oh.
See,
need a bigger face hugger.
Yeah. Tonight on Sci-Fi.
Right. All right. Well, let's send this movie back to 1986 and begin the reprogramming of our popcorn time machine. And we will see you all next time.
Later.
Peace.
Stay
She
frosty.
wasn't needed.
This might be my last episode.